Tonight, we begin with a broadening national security agenda. For years, the national conversation has focused primarily on guns, gangs, and murder. But the government is signaling that national security is also about cybercrime, economic resilience, mental health, synthetic drugs, and the country's international reputation. The National Security Council has announced a series of legislative and policy reforms designed to modernize Jamaica's response to evolving criminal threats. Among the measures are tougher lottery scamming laws, updated cybercrime legislation, stronger asset recovery powers, new controls on synthetic drugs, and a national program to address the growing psychological impact of Hurricane Melissa. The government says the measures are necessary to protect both citizens and the economy. But will they go far enough? We begin with that story. Later, over 170 people have been killed in confrontations with the security forces since the start of the year. What do these numbers say about policing in Jamaica, crime and public confidence? And after the horrific rape and murder of 10-year-old Shania Coke, calls are growing for Jamaica's sex offenders registry to be made public. I'm Tyrone Reed, and this is Lead Story. Welcome back. Now, the National Security Council has approved a series of strategic initiatives designed to strengthen Jamaica's economic security, citizen security, and national resilience. The decisions were taken during the Council's monthly meeting on July 23, and that was chaired by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. The government says the country is facing evolving criminal, technological and social threats that require a modern response. Among the major decisions, legislative changes to strengthen Jamaica's lottery scamming laws, updated cybercrime legislation, greater powers for investigation, prosecution and asset recovery, and closer coordination between law enforcement regulators and the private sector. The Council also approved the plans to strengthen the law governing synthetic drugs while addressing the social consequences of Hurricane Melissa through an expanded national trauma and mental health response. We were to be joined in this conversation by the country's National Security Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Dr. Horace Chang, but we have just been advised that we won't be joined by the Deputy Prime Minister anymore. We also hope to be joined by the opposition spokesperson on national security, that's Fitz Jackson, and the president of the Global Services Association of Jamaica, representing the BPO sector. That's the business processing outsourcing sector. And he joins us now. Mr. Epstein, top of the afternoon to you. Welcome to Lead Story.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
Not too shabby for a middle-aged guy. Good to have you on.
I guess we're in a similar position then.
I read with interest, Mr. Epstein, that the Prime Minister says he gave a very serious undertaking that Jamaica is going to be working to eliminate this whole business of lottery scamming. What does that mean for you as a player in the sector and the sector overall as the president of the Global Services Association of Jamaica?
Well, I think it's huge on a few fronts. Number one, security has long been a significant cost of doing business in Jamaica, and you really have to recognize the government minister of National Security and the Commissioner of Police over the last several years for really bringing down, violent crimes and murders in the country. And while, that's a significant feat and a significant win for the nation, and a confidence to both local and foreign investors, the approach now of ensuring that they eliminate the lottery scam that has, plagued not only the industry but the country for so many years. I think it's massive. The other point I would say on that is when you look at the BPO industry and what it provides to the country, somewhere, as it said in the article, somewhere between 700 and 900 million of US dollar foreign exchange earnings per year, plus over 40,000 jobs in the country. I mean, that is significant. So the fact that the government has decided to, shine the spotlight on the industry again, both protecting it from a security perspective as well as focusing on it, to me is huge, and one that we welcome and support in the industry.
Indeed. I want to read for the viewers just what the Prime Minister in a post, and he made this about 24 hours ago, this post, or just over 24 hours ago. And one of the conclusions is that they are looking, the government has therefore resolved, these are the words of the Prime Minister that I just put to Mr. Epstein, the government has therefore resolved to eliminate lottery scamming and dismantle the entire criminal ecosystem that enables, facilitates, and profits from it. Tough talking there from the country's Prime Minister. And you're confident, Mr. Epstein, that we are going to be able to achieve this ambitious target?
Well, I'm confident in our Prime Minister. And, he doesn't get up and say things with that level of confidence unless he is going to act in a manner of action. So, as I said before, the industry supports the move. The industry looks forward to seeing some of those successes. We've seen in the past similar successes by the government, and again, this is yet another one in which they seem to, be taking the bull by the horns and going to make a difference. The other thing I would say on the back of it is, a big part of, this industry and why it has had some challenges over the last several years, with the advent of artificial intelligence and the discussion around that, our productivity has been a major problem. And maybe this is part of that productivity issue, is people are engaging in multiple different things. So, again, I think it is something, while working on the productivity, while working on securing our future as an industry, so important to this country, we support and back the decision of the government and the Prime Minister himself.
In that statement issued by the Prime Minister after this meeting with the National Security Council, he also stated, Yoni Epstein, the council concluded that lottery scamming has evolved into a significant threat to Jamaica's economic security and citizen security. It has increased the cost of doing business, weakened Jamaica's competitiveness in an intensely price-sensitive global market, undermined investor confidence, and damaged the country's reputation as a trusted destination for global digital services. Of course, I'd love to get your reaction to that. He also gave some numbers that I want to come to you and talk to you about, Yoni Epstein. But just let me get your reaction to that first. The challenges that lottery scamming are posing for your business and that of the sector.
Well, security, as I said before, is a big part of any due diligence a company does on coming to Jamaica. And when they feel that their data is potentially could be compromised, it gives them a second thought of whether to outsource that business to Jamaica or take it to another part of the world. Because, in Jamaica, we're not competing with the call center down the road necessarily. We're competing with call centers in Central America, South America, India, Africa, Asia. And if we are not protecting the number one asset, which is the industry and the people that thrive in the industry, then, we have a potential to greater loss of business over time.
Yoni Epstein, for those who are looking on and they're saying, yes, we hear the Prime Minister, he's talking tough, on this business of eliminating the threat of lottery scamming. What about the players in the sector? Are they doing enough to ensure that these lottery scammers are not getting people's personal information? Is the industry doing enough?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's certain table stakes and certain certifications, international certifications that you have to get if you're going to be a significant player in this industry. So, I certainly think that the players do enough. We can always do more, but that's where that cost of business and the lack of competitiveness comes in, because, really how much more can you do that when an international body comes down? You pay a significant amount of money for them to audit your internal systems, your security systems, your network, how you hire, how you fire, how you allow access to your buildings, how you allow access to, sensitive data areas. And if you're getting, a clean bill of health, similarly to when an auditor audits your financials, how much more can you do, and how can you remain competitive?
In the statement from the Prime Minister, again, we're going back to this statement. He says the council noted that the industry has undergone significant structural change, with employment declining from approximately 60,000 to 40,000 workers, and an annual foreign exchange earnings falling to between US 700 million and US 900 million. Despite these pressures, the sector remains one of Jamaica's largest export industries, says the Prime Minister, and among the country's leading earners of foreign exchange. Protecting and regrowing the industry is therefore a national strategic priority. Before we get to the national strategic priority aspect of things, talk to us, Yoni Epstein, about the sector moving from 60,000 to 40,000 workers. That's quite a steep decline.
Yeah, it is. And, it's kind of a point that I made earlier with regards to the lack of productivity. And that is where I think the benefit of artificial intelligence comes into the business. While we were continuing to grow and build the industry, we were faced with a productivity situation where our competitors, as I said, between Central, South America, Africa, India, the Philippines, they were retooling and using artificial intelligence to their benefit, whereas in the nearshore we kind of have taken a longer adaptation of it, which has caused for people to find jobs elsewhere around the world for better prices and getting better value than what they were getting in the nearshore. And that is why, as coming into the job again as president, I think there's a few things that need to be done. One of them is a step that we see the government taking today. Another is marketing the industry again, because while we grew significantly after the COVID-19 period, we stopped marketing, and I think it's something that we have certainly thrown cold water on the fire that we were burning in the growth periods of the industry, and we need to get marketing again. It's probably going to cost us more upfront to rebuild the name and rebuild the brand. But, when you go around the world and you see the competitors that we compete against and see our numbers in Jamaica as to the output, when we're really effectively getting the job done properly, it's hard to beat us. And then, when I look at our own business and many others in the industry that have actually adopted artificial intelligence, not necessarily to reduce costs or to get rid of people, but to make your people more efficient, has
I want you to hold that thought for me, Yoni Epstein. We've gone past the time for the break. We have to take a break right here. We're talking with Yoni Epstein. He's the president of the Global Services Association of Jamaica. Joining the conversation when we come back from the break is the opposition spokesperson on national security, Fitz Jackson. Soon come.
adding up? Get ready for school with Chris and Charles. From July 9 to August 31, enjoy a low interest rate on loans of $1.5 and $2 million. Plus, get 25% off the processing fee on loans of $1 million Jamaican dollars and above. You could also qualify for one of 50 ready for school grants worth 60,000 Jamaican dollars each. Visit your nearest Chris and Charles branch or www.chrisandcharles.com for details. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles. Conditions apply.
Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen to 3.3%, down from 13.2% in 2016. Our government's continued focus on job creation is delivering real results. We are building Jamaica. The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is...
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Welcome back. Thanks so very much for sticking and staying with us right here inside Lead Story. We're talking about this whole business of lottery scamming. The Prime Minister of Jamaica, Dr. Andrew Holness, in a statement issued yesterday, says the government is resolved to eliminate lottery scamming and dismantle the entire criminal ecosystem that enables, facilitates and profits from it. We've been speaking with the president of the Global Services Association of Jamaica, that's Yoni Epstein. Joining the conversation now is the opposition spokesperson on national security, that's Fitz Jackson. Top of the evening to you, Fitz Jackson. Welcome to Lead Story.
Good evening to you, sir, and to your guests and your many listeners.
I gather you might be very aware of that statement from the Prime Minister about the commitment to eliminate this whole business of lottery scamming. Fitz Jackson, is the Prime Minister to be believed?
Well, I don't know about elimination. The goal of, all legislation and regulatory steps and control is to eliminate the ills that exist in the society that we want to curb. What I would say, to be a bit more realistic, is to substantially reduce the level of lottery scamming. When we had introduced the lottery scamming legislation in 2007, it was indeed the intent to make it a non-issue in Jamaica, so to speak, because of the impact it was having on our society and externally. In the early stages, the persons who suffered directly from lottery scamming was those elderly citizens abroad. But the flip side of it, that affected us in Jamaica, the lottery scamming and the gang violence or organized criminal activities, primarily at the time in the Western Jamaica, but indeed has spread to other areas in Jamaica. So yes, it is something for which the opposition will strongly support any effort to eliminate as much as is possible the incidences, the occurrences of lottery scamming in Jamaica, because our people become victim of it here through the violence that it perpetuates.
And of course,
and I've heard in your discussion you have mentioned about the sort of tangential, if I might say it so, which the breach of the confidentiality of persons' information and the impact on the BPO sector. That is without doubt a major concern of ours. And given the number of persons who benefit from the BPO sector. You mentioned about the reduction that we have experienced over the past couple of years from 60,000 to 40,000. That is significant. That's a 1/3 reduction. So it can't be taken lightly.
And what would the opposition do to reverse this decline?
Well, I don't know really if the lottery scamming and the intrusion of information by itself is responsible for the decline. Your guest alluded to the whole impact of AI. Sometime early this year, late last year, experts in the industry did indicate that we would have a steep decline in the BPO sector because of the use of AI. So that no doubt would have contributed, together with the prevalence of lateral scamming. But we have to first start to deal with the things that we have direct control over. And the security side of it, in terms of clamping down on those lateral scammers, are things that we must seek to optimize. And of course, on the employment side and the economic benefits, we would hope that our investors in that sector would invest in the modern technologies that can keep employment up as much as possible. AI is to reduce manpower, we are aware. But it's a combination of both.
Jackson, what would you say to the detractors who say the father of lottery scamming was a well-known PNP activist, someone from out west, a figure from out west, and they're questioning the PNP's commitment to stand against lottery scamming? How would you respond to those detractors?
Those are really, as you described them, detractors. No sensible person could attach any credence to that argument. Criminals are criminals, whichever party they happen to support. And no doubt they are supporters of the People's National Party who indulge in lateral scamming, as there are members of the Jamaica Labour Party. But there is no policy position of the PNP. Bear in mind that it was the People's National Party that promulgated the legislation to deal with lateral scamming in Jamaica. Let that not be forgotten. So it's ludicrous for persons to make those statements. But as you rightfully describe them, they are detractors.
Let me bring Yoni Epstein back into the conversation. Yoni Epstein, the numbers, Fitzjackson pointing out, that's 1/3 of the total number of people employed in the sector, the BPO sector, from 60,000 to 40,000. Is that simply because of the introduction of artificial intelligence, or are the security concerns also feeding into that decline?
No. As I've written, and more recently on Sunday, there was an article posted in the Jamaica Observer that was done. I mean, I've said it time and time again, artificial intelligence in many ways is a benefit, not a threat. And there's been no job that has left Jamaica due to artificial intelligence. Predominantly, most of the jobs that have left have been due to a lack of productivity, a lack of quality, inability to hire and train people fast enough. The Hurricane Melissa was a significant loss to the industry, particularly during a time when most companies would be ramping up for the Christmas and the Thanksgiving seasons in North America. Those jobs went elsewhere, and a lot of call centers moved jobs during that period to other countries due to our inability to operate and to some of the damage that was done to many of the call centers from Hurricane Melissa. So I wouldn't place it on any one thing. I would say that, just over the years of our lack of marketing, our inability to maintain from a cost competitiveness perspective, security, technology, it all played a role. And, now that we recognize the importance of the industry, what it means to the country from a foreign exchange perspective, what it means for the money turning in the economy and the jobs produced, it's time to refocus and rebuild and get back to 60,000.
And on that point, Yoni Epstein, the amount of money spent on security, if the government is able to achieve this ambitious target it's setting to eliminate lottery scamming, that would make your business and the business of the sector way more competitive, wouldn't it?
It would be one of the things, absolutely. There's no question. I mean, artificial intelligence is a benefit in many ways as well too, right? For argument's sake, let's just assume, after a phone call, you have to write notes into the company's CRM as to what took place on that call. That could take up to 3-4 minutes or more in some instances. Whereas if you had artificial intelligence deployed into the system based upon it listening to the phone call, it could actually provide a brief in 30 seconds and you could move on to the next call. So therefore, you're more efficient, your costs automatically drops because you don't need as many people in order to handle those calls. So you can actually redeploy those people in other areas or win other business, be more competitive from a price perspective, from an efficiency perspective. And that's how we're going to win this game, not necessarily just upon, price and security, and it's an amalgamation of everything.
Fitz Jackson, the government says protecting and regrowing the industry is therefore a national strategic priority. Do you support that position from the Holness administration?
Indeed. At all times, to increase the security within our society must be a national priority, both as it relates to personal security, as it relates to business security, all aspects of it. And the government will have the full support of the opposition in that regard.
And Yoni Epstein, that should be music to the ears of the Global Services Association of Jamaica, that your sector is being treated as a national strategic priority.
Absolutely. It is one that has helped to reduce the unemployment in the country from the years of 2012 coming up to pre-COVID. During COVID, it was a massive support to the economy in keeping things together while many other things were shut down. Even after Hurricane Beryl the year before and Hurricane Melissa last year, we were able to get back up and running fairly quickly. So it is an industry that has shown resilience. It is an industry that has shown it is a great opportunity for starters, for teenagers coming out of high school, just going into their first job that are not going to tertiary education. It's an opportunity for those coming out of tertiary education to have a landing spot to build, experience and then move on into things that they have studied or other jobs.
I'm actually happy you touched on the working conditions because Yoni Epstein, I'm not certain if this is still the case, but I've heard people describe working in call centers as sweatshops with AC. That's how some people have described it. How have things improved over the years?
I treat that question with like how Mr. Jackson referred to detractors. In everything in life, unfortunately, you have a level of negativity that follows it, and people don't like to see the success of things. I over the years, I've invited anyone from the journalism community to come in and see for themselves. The thing with the BPO industry that people don't like is that you have to be efficient. You come to work for 8 hours, minus your lunch and your break times. You should be working for those times. And that is where the detraction builds. Because, as I said before, we don't compete with the guy down the road. We're competing with the guy across the pond or the guy in Central America. And if they're more efficient and more cost efficient and they're getting the job done better, then you're going to lose the work. And that's the reality, is what we've seen over the last several years in Jamaica.
We're going to take you up on that offer here at CVM TV, Yoni Epstein. So you'll be hearing from us. Our people will be in touch with your people. We give you the final word, Fitz Jackson. We have about 30 seconds. We'll give you the final word on this conversation.
My hope, my desire is that the BPO sector go from strength to strength, and that it deepens in terms of the skills and so forth that it enjoys, that it employs, and that more and more Jamaicans can be meaningfully employed, and we can contribute to the growth of our economy and the development of our society. And anything that the opposition can do from the perspective of the operators, we are ready and waiting and ready. We're ready, willing to sit with you and to work together as a partner.
Thank you so very much. The voice there of Fitz Jackson is the opposition spokesperson on national security. Of course, we heard from the president of the Global Services Association of Jamaica, Yoni Epstein. This is Lead Story. Take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about police fatal shootings. Are the numbers declining?
Jamaica. Make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30. Walking on the Word with Apostle Professor J. Andrew Scott every Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m.
Hallelujah. And they have some people now where you look forward for them. They bring a joy to you. They make you laugh. When you see them, they make you give you a good vibe. And them people that you want around you, man. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Now follow me with your heavy self, man. Sure. Your heavy down, sir. Hallelujah.
Welcome back. Thank you so very much for staying with us inside Lead Story. Now, the latest figures from Indicom show that 174 people have been killed in confrontations with the security forces between January 1 and July 27. That is 15 fewer than the 189 recorded during the corresponding period for last year. However, 15 fatal shootings have been recorded during the month of July alone. The latest incident occurred on Sunday in Tivoli Gardens, where police say a man driving a stolen motor vehicle was fatally shot after an alleged gun battle. The man has been identified as Ricardo Levy, otherwise called Ricky. Meanwhile, Indicom Commissioner Hugh Faulkner says his office received 5 reports of separate police fatal shootings between last Thursday and Saturday. Tonight, we examine what these figures say about public safety, police operations and national security. Dr. Gavin Myers, Principal Director of the National Integrity Action, the NIA, he joins us now. Doc, top of the evening to you. Welcome to Lead Story.
How are you? How things?
Not too shabby for a middle-aged guy, and I trust you're well.
Yeah, not too shabby for a middle-aged guy myself.
Well, all right. Doc, we have made heavy weather, and I've asked you this question over and over as to why, because the raw numbers by themselves don't necessarily say that something is wrong. It's not conclusive, but you raised in a conversation we're having that it does, though, open up a conversation about the use of force by the police, which is entirely reasonable. The numbers are declining now, Dr. Myers. What says the NIA?
I think the numbers are declining. Numbers are declining by 10, and it's important. 10 lives less is an important matrix. But
I think 15. I think 15 is what we're reporting between January 1 and July 27. 15, I think it is.
Yes. 189 to 179 or 174. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. 174 rather than 179. So yes, the numbers are declining, but generally you see the use of this type of approach in terms of the shootings are happening in terms of planned operations. You see that type of situation happening more and more. You have certain questions because our police are the best in the Caribbean by any matrix that is there. And you want to ask a question, if this is the best that we have in the Caribbean, how is it that we can make things better? How can we improve the use of force? How can we improve the use of other tactics and tools to make our policing and our community safety better? Because I just want to know that the choice of using a weapon or of using fatal force is not the first thing that is there, and that other options were there. So what are the systems that are in place to ensure that the public is sure that that was what was done?
So this 15, in terms of the reduction, the 15 lives that have been spared, and one life is, as you've rightly pointed out, Gavin Myers, that's something that should be appreciated. You're saying this is a good thing and the police should continue on this trajectory?
I'm saying that we want to see a reduction in the number of persons who lose their lives in Jamaica overall. I'm saying that we want to see a reduction in the use of fatal force as a way to apprehend people. I'm saying that we want to ensure that our justice system is made to work and we see how it is working, rather than we hearing in the end that someone was a violence producer, someone was this. We want to see better systems. We are asking for the body-worn cameras and other systems in place for us to talk about it, for us to be able to see with confidence that our police is doing as they are trained, and that the training in some way supports them preserving life.
I was about to ask you if the calls for body-worn cameras, if those calls were growing faint, but I can see that's not the case. You still insist upon that being done.
You see, if you look at it, body-worn cameras ensuring that what it is that the police says is happening is that the people who are injured, both the police and civilians, are treated with dignity, and ensuring that the evidence is preserved are critical parts of, let's call it a stool, a three-legged stool, to ensure that we can have confidence that what is happening in every one of these situations meets muster. We want to ensure that the police, civilian oversight authority, or whatever other systems are looking in, INDICOM others are looking in, can say with confidence that our police did what was expected and did it best. We want to ensure that what systems are there, we can review and look and say, okay, this could have been done better, and this is here. And it is important that we are a learning institution. Our police is a learning institution. They have massive training and are doing well at training. If it is that we don't have these, and if we don't ask the questions about how it is that their policing strategies are doing, then we would just be patting ourselves on the back and not knowing what it is that is actually working.
And let me ask you, Gavin Myers, because I read with interest, and I'm certain you may have seen this as well, that the police personnel out in Montego Bay, St. James, have significantly ramped up their use of body-worn cameras, achieving an 89% compliance rate on patrols and deployed operations. I'm sure you applauded that.
I do, because it shows, and you know, St. James is not, let us not call it a push prom. St. James is they do very strong policing. They have a lot of different spaces to work in. They have all the terrain you can think. They have the tactical discipline for them to use body-worn camera this way. Shows that it's something that we can do and something that we should continue to do. We can talk about this increased training, we can talk about the importance of this being done, but what is critical in this is that we want to say with confidence that we understand what happened and we know that the police did well. And it is this type of thing that builds up the confidence that citizens across the space, and you know, St. James is coming off the back of several types of shootings and situations that have in a lot of ways weaken the confidence. But doing these things is something that shows up from leadership, but straight down to beat patrol level, that the police are interested in building and showing openness and transparency. And it also shows up that the work of Indicom, the work of others are bearing fruit, that we're asking for an open, transparent, and the confident system that builds up for us all.
And interestingly, well, you might, and this isn't necessarily connected or not suggesting there's a correlation, but St. James is actually experiencing an increase in the number of murders in comparison to last year.
You know, St. James, you know, we can talk about the places. St. James, St. Andrew South, you know the places that have been showing that type of increase. I would also hazard that Manchester right now is showing an increase too. So the correlation would not be there, but we know that they're trying to do their best in terms of policing. And it would be difficult for us to hazard or to think that the police are reducing their operational strength or capacity because they're wearing body-worn camera. I know that would not be the case because the police down there are doing their work. I've been in St. James and they have stopped me a few times. And they have always been courteous and strong. So I am confident.
Courteous and strong, says Gavin Myers. So yes. you have been stopped by the police, and the interaction has been good. I'm happy to hear that, Gavin Myers.
Yes. You know, one of the things we should say is that our policing across Jamaica has grown. Our policing has grown in terms of confidence, in terms of their level of understanding, in terms of what they say, how they say it, and also their adherence to the rules. And you can know this in terms of how the supervisors treat you, how the rank and file officers treat you. We are doing very well in policing. When we're asking for more, what we're asking for is we can see how much better things can be. We want it to be that this is standard and that the standard is kept all the time. And yes, I have been stopped a few times. I've been stopped, asked, you know, sometimes I may have been going a little bit over the limit and they have been asking me, you know. Yes.
Oh, you might be going. Yes. You might have been going over the speed limit.
Yes.
It's alleged. It's alleged. Gavin Myers, thank you so very much. He's the principal director.
Thank you so much for having me, and have yourself a good evening. And to the police, keep up the good work, and we will continue watching.
Indeed. Dr. Gavin Myers, the principal director of the National Integrity Action. We appreciate the time and the thoughts. Now, we take our final break for today's edition of Lead Story. When we come back, we want to turn our attention to a matter involving children's rights. Yes, should the sex offenders registry be made public? We'll hear from a child rights advocate. Soon come.
Want to save a country right now. One thing about Jamaicans, we might have differences, but we know when something is good for all of us. And when we work together against crime and violence, we are stronger than ever. And that's how we know the Citizen Security Plan can work. That one that name CSP. The Citizen Security Plan is an initiative of the Ministry of National Security in partnership with the European Union. It's an all-of-government effort to create safer streets and build stronger communities. Go to mns.gov.jm to learn how you can play your part.
I'm me, the style is no scam and I style me.
From the market to the farm to the office, money talk is everywhere. But are you making sense or nonsense? The Bank of Jamaica brings you common sense with BOJ. Real stories, real laughs, and real lessons to help you protect, grow, and manage your money. Mattress savings.
At least my mattress. You charge me to sleep on it.
Partner plan.
Remember last year we needed our payouts early? But Miss Pam gave it to her cousin first.
Or a sketchy loan flyer.
Electrifying deals.
See why making the right financial choices is pure common sense. Brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, empowering everyday Jamaicans one episode at a time.
Grandpa, it's 2026. You can't keep hiding all your money in every single pocket forever.
Welcome back to Lead Story. The rape and murder of 10-year-old Shania Coke has shocked the nation. As police continue their investigations, an advocacy group is renewing calls for the sex offenders registry to be made public. Here, the Children's Cry says greater public access could help families better protect their children. Others have raised questions about privacy rights, rehabilitation, and whether a public registry would prevent future offenses. Priscilla Duhaney is a spokesperson for Hear the Children's Cry, and she joins us now. Priscilla Duhaney, top of the evening to you. Welcome to Lead Story. I think you're muted, Priscilla.
Are you hearing me now?
Loud and clear. We're hearing you loud and clear. Welcome back to the program, Priscilla. The answer to the questions, many are saying they've served their time, they've paid their debt to society, these offenders. We shouldn't continue punishing them. The sex offenders registry shouldn't be made public. Why does Hear the Children's Cry believe that this would help our present predicament?
Well, for certain, we always also believe that, there must be a balancing act, and we have to balance the public safety as well as individual privacy rights. But at the same time, we have to take into account that when someone does something or commits an offense, your rights is also somewhat should be deprived from you. So we have to take that into account, and primarily the safety of our children and the vulnerable group. But what Hear the Children Cry really proposes even more so is that making the sex registry public, offenders registry public, is not so much to do it in a broad way, but usually we are thinking that if you are a repeat offender, this should be considered. So making it public should be something aligned to more so a repeat offender, which is a deterrent. It should restrict them from or prevent them from repeating this behavior, and also putting them under the microscope by those that are in the communities or most likely to be affected by them.
So I hear the call about making the names of repeat offenders public. So that it's a nuanced call being made by Hear the Children's Cry. What about ring fencing the registry, meaning it wouldn't be available to the entire country, but if the person resides in a particular area, the people in that area would have access to their name. Would that be a nuanced position that is supported by Hear the Children's Cry?
To some extent, I would say yes. It would be best that the first and the most likely place for it to be public is the community that the person is residing. But what I find the challenge we're having now is that I don't believe they are being properly monitored. The Department of Correctional Services are not updating their data. And so despite of how we think or what is happening or what they may say, you might find that these individuals' data say that they live in X place at this point in time. But a few months from now, they probably relocate to somewhere else. And so there's really no parameters or boundaries to ensure that they stay within the confinement of that area. And so if you were to restrict it to just that community, you may find that the individual go to another community and carry out those types of activities or offenses.
But wouldn't it, Priscilla Duhaney, be incumbent on the police force to ensure that they do check-ins with these individuals whose names are listed in the register, to ensure that they're actually residing where they say they're residing?
Yes, and that is the problem. That is what they would say, or that's what they are saying they're doing. But we have there's no such accurate data to show that this is being done on a regular basis. And so if we were to accept it as what is being said, then, well, fine, it shall be confined to the area that the person or the offender is residing in. But we know that in practice, this is not necessarily so. And so in order for us to to keep a broader eye on what is happening. We think that making the registry public to the public at large would possibly even be more of an assistant to the police and the law enforcement officers.
What is the Heritage Children's Cry's position on this whole business of these sentences being handed down to some of these offenders? I have seen a number of cases, and it's been a matter of public debate because people have commented on it online whenever these stories are posted by media entities. People are finding some of these sentences to be unduly lenient. What say here the Children's Cry on that?
Well, to be quite frank, the truth is that the law is already established and would have established particular sentences. No, it is up to the judge based on the evidence and the particulars of that case where they may exercise the discretion in terms of the length or the duration of the sentence. So it is not really our position to make a statement where we do not have all the facts or we are not in court at that particular time. I myself, being an attorney, can understand sometimes what is on the outside may not be the same as what is on the inside. So it might seem lenient, but it is dependent on the facts, because we do also have to understand and appreciate that while it seems lenient to the public, what was the evidence put forward? Was there any witnesses? And also, if the information is false, then you can also look at an innocent party being incarcerated wrongfully or falsely.
Would you hear the Children's Cry support mandatory minimums for sex offenders convicted of sexual assaults or sexual crimes against minors? Would you support mandatory minimums of, let's say, 25 years?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we believe that you ought to serve the time if you have committed the crime. And furthermore, with the most vulnerable groups of our society, it should be made mandatory so that it is once again a deterrent for you not to commit such offenses.
Indeed. I'll give you the final word on this, Priscilla Duhaney. We're almost out of time, but you're calling, and it's an important call. It's an important conversation to have for changes to be made with how the sex offenders registry is governed. It's one of those issues that comes to the fore every so often. I just give you the final word on it to make your case again for those who are watching and listening. Sometimes those who walk the corridors of power do watch these programs. What would you say to them for them to take heed to what you're putting on the table?
Well, essentially what we propose is that, as you said, sex offenders should be brought before the courts. The relevant law should be applied to them and punishment accordingly. We need to look at our legislation, but even more so, making the sex offenders registry public, as I said before, can be a deterrent. But what we also need to understand is that we now need to look at how they are being monitored. There needs to be maybe possibly more resources put in place to monitor them, to ensure that the data is up to date. And we may need to pull on some of the justice of the peace to help in this particular venture, to ensure that the community members feel safe, and of course to prevent any repeated occurrence from these sex offenders. So not to take it lightly, we must ensure that when persons or people are reporting such offenders, the police officers do not ignore the complaints that are being reported to them.
Finally, in a space where the argument is the privacy rights of these individuals who served their time, pay their debt to society, versus protecting the children by making the registry public, the Heritage Children's Cry would suppose would err on the side of protecting the children.
Oh, most definitely. We are for protecting our children. more than any other rights being trumped. Once, as I said before, if you have committed an offense, you also need to you are also likely to, suffer the consequences accordingly. So we will definitely be leaning in favor of our children being protected.
Priscilla Duhaney, spokesperson for Hear the Children's Cry. Thanks again for joining us on Lead Story. I appreciate the time and the thoughts.
Thank you.
Indeed. Tonight's program has been about security in its broadest sense, security from organized crime, security from cyber criminals who damage our economy, security for communities still healing from disaster, security through accountable law enforcement, and security for our children. The challenge for policymakers is that none of these threats exist in isolation. They require strong laws, strong institutions, and above all, public confidence that the system is working in the interest of every Jamaican. That is the story. I'm Tyrone Reed. On behalf of the entire CVM production team, thank you for watching Lead Story. Have a safe evening. The best news in the country comes up at the top of the hour.